Today, I will be reviewing what is supposedly the greatest album of all time, according to rateyourmusic.com, which is Radiohead's 1996 album, OK Computer. I listened to it today, and I'm going to be telling you my thoughts. And towards the end, I will be answering the question that everyone has been waiting for. Is it the greatest album of all time? First of all, this was my first Radiohead album I've listened to because I've heard a lot about Radiohead. Like, I kept hearing their name, like, popping up in, like, music discords and seeing, like, literally every Radiohead album in Rate Your Music's top 100 of all time. And I was like, geez, they're kissing Radiohead's ass. Are they really that good? So, yeah, this was my first introduction to them. And honestly, it was pretty good. Like, they're an alternative rock band, and as you can see with the shirt I'm wearing, I can dabble with alternative rock. I'm a Gorillaz fan. Yeah, this was probably not the right shirt to wear since I'm wearing a Gorillaz shirt to review a Radiohead album. But in some ways, I do believe that Gorillaz and Radiohead fans do overlap in some ways. Okay, I digress. Let's get into the review. So, it opens up with this first song. I did write some notes, but I really forgot the track list. Hold on, let me search that up. Okay, Computer. It starts off the first song with Airbag. So it opens up with a nice guitar riff. Like, what I've noticed throughout the whole album is that the whole sound is like using distorted and acoustic guitars, and the way that they contrast is really nice, but they're also really complementary, and I actually dug that sound throughout the whole album. And it has some noticeable bass too, opening up with it, which I really enjoyed as a bass player. And I didn't know what Tom York's vocals were like because I never heard his voice before. And I honestly expected like those like screechy distorted voices or something. I don't know what I was thinking of Radiohead before I listened to them. But it was actually a lot clearer than I thought. Then yeah, I would expect it to be. So it was clear and nice, but it did crack up at times. I think that's his style of singing, and I'm not sure if that's his main style like throughout his whole discography, but that's Tom's style of singing, I guess. I dig it. I kind of dig it. And honestly, the drum beats for the first 2/3 of the song, they're quite intense and catchy. Like, the drums throughout the whole song, the drum fills are really good, and the beats are really nice and complement the song very well. And also in the first Airbag, there's like experimental radio noises, which through the first minute of the song with rising bass, and I did not expect that, but I dig it. Next to the second track, Paranoid Android. It's like 6.5 minutes long, which is a fairly long song, but I've listened to longer. So it starts off with like beep boop noises. I don't know how to describe that. And the vocal introduction when Tom came in, they were kind of high, which threw me off because in the first song he had a fairly deep singing voice, but I mean there's obviously deeper vocals. And it seemed like it was out of his range, and like the way he came in, it felt offbeat. I don't know if it was, but it did feel like it was offbeat to the instrumental introduction to it. And there seemed to be a forefront acoustic guitar and bass to start it off. So and there's this one riff like this. It was like some elongated riff. It was actually kind of satisfying, and the whole guitar solo and the yeah thingy was kind of weird, but I liked how the acoustic guitar and the bass complemented each other. It was it was like nice. And then towards like later towards the song, there was they did play the distorted guitar, but in the same riff of the acoustic guitar in the beginning, and that was great, which like added this song. And then we get this ominous chorus in the background, which is quite intense and awesome. And yeah, then it goes back to the distorted guitar and the chorus vocals towards the end of the song, which make it a great finish. So next we go to the third track, Subterranean Homesick Alien. And it sounds like the vocals are calm and the guitar sounds extraterrestrial. That's the best way I can describe it. And there's two guitar parts which I can hear, which I think in most of the songs within the album, there's obviously two guitar parts, one being the acoustic and the being the distorted guitar, distorted electric one. And then we get some like elevatory beeping throughout it, which are quite pleasant. The drums especially and the cymbals building up towards the ending of the song were really well too. And Tom's repetitive uptight riff, it was nice. And then the simple bass ending too was, yeah, that was also nice. I say nice a lot. I'm not good at describing things. Like, I need to improve my diction, man. Then we get to track 4, which is exit music for a film. The acoustic guitar in the beginning, it gives off the vibe of a somber song, so we know what we're getting into. And then vocals come in with a deep sense of sadness and with emotion and reverb, which it makes you feel sad. You know, I could feel a sense of melancholy from it. And there was some background ambient noises like choruses and like kids talking or something, and that just added more to this vibe of sadness. I thought that and then the vocals were quite quiet towards the ending, and then split vocals came in towards the ending, which were quite something. And it concludes a song. No wait, I read the notes for the wrong song. Okay, that was for track 5. Scratch that. And it was. Then there's distorted guitar, which adds to the progression again, and it returns back to the minimal acoustic guitar with heavy raw vocals towards the end. It's a certified sad boy song, if I do say so myself. And then track 5, which is Let Down. It has a much happier sounding guitar, and the vocals feel split. It doesn't feel as sad as the last song, but you can still feel a sad vibe from Tom's voice. And you can feel the album got hit with a struck of sadness ever since the last track, which was exit music for a film. And it adds an interesting progression. So the vocals are quiet towards the end of the song, and then split vocals come in, which is quite cool. For track 6, we got Karma Police. It opens with piano and acoustic guitar once again. I feel like this is where it has heavy use of piano, which is nice. Which one of the first songs in the album and the bass comes in with the vocals, giving the introduction of the song a nice sense of nearness. I don't know what that description is, but take it, I guess. The piano is much more prevalent in the song compared to the other songs so far. Like I've said, yeah, there's a lot of piano in track 6. And drums and acoustic guitar come in for build up and progression pretty well. This Is What You Get and I Lost Myself are the repeating riffs throughout the song, and they can be easily stuck in your head, I'd say. And the lyrics, they still sound sad, but like I said, not as sad as exit music for a film. I keep forgetting the track names. And then there's track 7, which I assume is the interlude, only being 1 minute and 27 seconds long. It has like this robot voice, which gives like an uncanny valley effect, like through your ears. And it's quite creepy. then there's like strings and like more experimental like electronic noises throughout the track, and that makes it more creepy. And guys, the robot said society. Yo, we live in a society. Track 8, which is electioneering. It opens up with a catchy distorted guitar and cowbell. Nice use of cowbell there, Radiohead. And it's quite a different turn because it sounds like an upbeat rock song rather than like the sad stuff. And drums and bass, they hold up the song pretty well, comparing that, well, that's their bass, that's their role, they hold up the band. Yeah, and the drum fills were really good in that song. Shout out to Philip. I had to search up his name. I don't know much about Radiohead, okay? And, yeah. And then the guitar solo in the final minute were pretty good and quite satisfying. Track 9 is Climbing Up the Walls. It opens up with some banging percussion and acoustic guitar and more ambient noises. It's quite hard to describe, I don't know. The vocals open up satisfyingly with contrast to the abrasive percussion. At first, that threw me off with like Tom's vocals and the abrasive percussion, but like later towards the song, they kind of complement each other the more you listen to it. And the electric guitar is used halfway through the song, and it was used nicely, of course. Vocals were much more incomprehensible compared to his other songs, but it was pretty, and still pretty good. Track 10, No Surprises. The bass and guitar open up the song, and it has a jingly guitar, acoustic guitar as another part. And the vocals come off, I think, a bit quiet, but it sounds kind of happy. And I could feel a sense of proudness towards the album as it's progressing out of sadness and evolving from track to track since of exit music for film. It'll sound quite happy. And the bells were used too as percussion. That was really nice. And for track 11, Lucky, the light drums and distorted starting up noises give quite the introduction. And bass and vocals come in, makes the album dip into melancholy again. Like, you think that this album, when you go from song to song, it progresses from evolving away from sadness, but no, it dips back into track 11 with this, with track 11, Lucky. And the drum fills and the vocal progression riffs, and then, yeah, it dips back into a sense of sadness when the guitar and bass come back in. The instrumentals are strong towards the final ending of the song, and it just makes you reflect the current state of the album because it's coming to an end as it's the second to last song. And then Tom's final verse of Standing on the Edge almost gave me chills. And the final track, track 12, The Tourist. 2 guitar parts begin the song with already strong and long vocals from Tom, and this is quite the conclusion song with layered vocals. You can feel them. It doesn't feel too sad or too happy, and it just makes you look back and reflect the progression of the album as it starts, how it progresses from sadness to happiness and then kind of dips down, but now it's kind of in this weird neutral state, in my opinion, with this last song. And then the ending gives you bass and drums, and then an ambient ding for the last few seconds to make you just reflect on that album. Honestly, it was actually a really good album. I'm giving it a strong 9. And now the answer that everyone has been waiting for: is it the greatest album of all time? No. For sure. Really, it's a really hard question to ask because the greatest album of all time, that sounds like every album in existence, and you have to put one up there. Even I cannot answer that because that's very personal and very relative. And each album is different, and it's really hard to compare the sounds of one to another, as music is really diverse and contrasting, and that's what makes music really cool and interesting. So the thing is, yeah, I don't know what and also humans change and evolve their opinions, so even if you say this is the greatest album of all time, you might find one that's better in the future, who knows. Number 2,